Welcome to Making Metrc Easy, presented by Outlaw Technology. I'm Hans Dietrich.
And I'm Bree Oaxaca, and each week we speak with the companies in the trenches of the seed-to-sale process.
Our guest today is Cassie Bryant from Nature's Medicines in Michigan. Welcome, Cassie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Nature's is a vertically integrated cannabis company and it's been working with us for a few years. Cassie, you're the state retail market manager, but you formerly were the cultivation inventory manager, right?
You got it. Yes. Yep. I started in inventory at the grow.
We also have Outlaw CEO Dave Eagleson with us here today. Hey, Dave.
Hey, happy to be here.
He's worked with Cassie for a few years now, so he's known her too. Cassie, a little later in the show, I'd like to talk about your work and your roles while at Nature's, but how did you get started in the industry?
I got started in the industry in 2021. I was in the healthcare industry before that, and I had felt some urge to get into the cannabis industry just based on my lifestyle and my beliefs, health benefits that cannabis can have, and then also just recreationally too. And so I kind of took that leap from a corporate job to jumping into the cultivation center, starting just at entry level. And it's been amazing since then.
You've moved up pretty fast because you actually worked with someone who works now for Outlaw, Tony McCracken. He was your former boss, and now he's our sales support manager here at Outlaw, right?
Yes. Yep. He was my first supervisor. He made me a lead. He is the one that put me in these positions and promoted me. So big shout out to Tony.
So Cassie, how long were you in cultivation, and then how did you make the jump from the cultivation to your current role?
I was in cultivation for 2 years before I was presented with an opportunity to turn around the location that we had opened up in Battle Creek, right down the road from the grow. And from there, that kind of blossomed into kind of taking over the whole market of Michigan. So it happened pretty quickly.
So you went right from cultivation into retail.
Yeah. Yep. Huge change. Very drastic. Totally different. All sorts of different things, really. And I had to learn a lot. Have learned a lot here in these past. It's been almost a year actually since I've been in retail. So just learned a lot throughout this whole year with the help of Outlaw too.
Which has better hours, cultivation or retail?
The better hours are in cultivation. Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So isn't it like farmer's hours in cultivation? You get up like wicked early in the morning and have to go milk the wheat plants?
That's exactly it. Exactly it. You know, they get in early. You know, a lot of the teams, they'll get their holidays off, but retail, man, it never sleeps.
Yeah, I'm curious. So with that, knowing that you've been in both sides of it, and I say both sides of it, cultivation and dispensary, can you give us a sense of the Metrc side of it, right? So you have Metrc in cultivation for plants, packages, and then all of a sudden it turns down to dispensary. Maybe you can touch on that a little bit. I'm just curious because, again, compliance is very different in dispensary.
It is. Yes. I would say we used Metrc more heavily in cultivation just because, it's from seed to sale, basically. So you're getting your information in when your plants are little baby clones, immature plants, through their vegetative state and then their flowering state. So you'll have to report through Metrc all while they mature. And then you also will switch to making those packages after you get those finished goods. So lots of heavy work in Metrc on that cultivation side. It's definitely lighter on the retail side. It's just a lot more inventory. You'll do your adjustments in Metrc and you'll accept transfers through there as well. But it's pretty light work on the retail side.
So are you using the POS more on the retail side? And what POS do you guys use?
Definitely. We use Dutchy POS. We also use them for the cultivation side too now.
Excellent.
Cassie, I'm curious. You mentioned, coming from the corporate structure in healthcare. What sort of similarities or differences do you see? Because, of course, Michigan has both the recreational and medical market. What sort of similarities or dissimilarities do you see between, managing the inventory in healthcare versus in cannabis?
I would say the big difference is managing more of the pharmaceutical medications. Healthcare, it's a lot right now, just that the main healthcare industry is geared towards purchasing and using pharmaceuticals. And when you're into, obviously the cannabis industry, I can see where people do benefit from those results, but they can't necessarily as openly offer that in the mainstream healthcare industry.
So curious with the healthcare side, Cassie, did you use RFID there at all? Because I know that's really the big mainstay of Metrc, right? The Metrc packaged plants and packages have RFID. And I think you've used our Desperado and our OG Harvest systems with the RFID. Did you do any RFID in the healthcare side?
None, actually.
Really?
I did not.
Interesting.
No.
Yeah. And what would you say the value is, I guess, going from counting, 1, 2, 3 to maybe scanning, like especially plants? Can you give us a sense of that?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I, like I said, I was the first inventory clerk, basically is what they called at the grow. And when I jumped in, I was counting, I had to count our vegetative and our flowering plants by hand. I had to also, I was in there for hours. When we did plant moves as well, it would be like a huge thing. And I'd have to make sure that I caught the team before they moved the plants into the room to make sure I knew exactly what was going in. When I had the RFIDs and the Outlaw scanner guns, Desperado, basically, you could just run into a room of 2,000 plants and you can hit that validation button and that RFID will take minutes, maybe like 2 minutes to capture 2,000 tags, maybe even less, cut down a ton on labor.
You did the harvest as well, or only on the inventory side?
Yes, we did it for harvest as well. Inventory actually ran that side of harvest with OG Harvest, and we ran our first harvest in April of 2021 without OG Harvest, and we just had like your run-of-the-mill scanner, barcode scanner, and we would scan the tags individually. We had to we'd weigh the plant and we'd have to manually put that into an Excel spreadsheet. From there, we would upload it to Metrc, which it wasn't horrible, but it is absolutely not ideal. With OG Harvest, it was like magic. You scan the plant tag, you toss it into the scale, and then it just automatically updates for you, and then you can move on. It made harvest a breeze.
So the timing on that, I know that Tony talks about when he first got Outlaw while he was still working there. He said something like 6 people at two weigh stations, 12 or 13 hours to do 1,200 plants. Did you remember that too? Was it that bad before Outlaw? And what do you remember it going down to?
I do. I remember that. What we were doing, it was like 12 plus hour days. And like you said, 2 weigh stations. People were there, like 4 a.m, even past 5. It was crazy. But once we had OG Harvest, I think it cut it probably in half, maybe even more that time. It was incredible.
So Cassie, you had that introduction with, RFID tools down in the cultivation. And then, of course, as you've moved into the dispensary, we've been working with you to sort of bring those same time savings and efficiencies there. So can you tell us a little bit about what your vision has been as far as, using the Outlaw tools to bring RF down to the dispensary with Metrc?
Absolutely. So right now, we're not necessarily in a place where we've introduced the full capacity of Metrc with the RFID tags. I do see that value in it. My vision is, maybe is in the near future, getting those RFID tags so we can cut down on our labor at the grow and also at the store level. And then what that will do with the RFID tags, that would cut down on inventory counts. But oh my gosh, I mean, it takes them just in a sales room or even waving the scanner in a vault would take minutes when, people are taking an hour or a half hour to do their inventory counts every morning. Ideally, I'd love for someone to our inventory staff to come in the store, wave that scanner around and just have everything counted and validated each day.
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to say, the nice thing is we built that tool, the Metrc tool specifically so that you could do that, but we also set up so we can do the count audit, right? So whether it's count or tally. And our thought being is, like you said, you're not going to immediately jump into tagging everything over again. It's going to it takes some time. I know your team has done you've got multiple dispensaries across Michigan, and thank you for the business, by the way. But what I was going to say is, I know they see value just even using our count tally, if I'm not mistaken. They've been able to get it more organized. Can you talk about just even that functionality? Because we're always trying to tell people kind of what we do, and we're trying to make your life easier. That's the intent of Outlaw.
Absolutely. And I would say that Outlaw certainly, Metrc especially, certainly has made things easier and more efficient. I know that my inventory staff in the stores right now really appreciate the tool. They use it daily. It has cut down their time for counting their inventory every day as well. Obviously, it's not as quick as that RFID, just quick scan, but still it helps with organization, getting that upload. They just shoot that upload to us every morning, and it's just an easy way of doing things.
And Michigan is different for listeners in other states. It has different rules than a lot of other dispensaries have to follow, because you can actually keep the product out on the sales floor. You don't have to put it back into the vault every night when you close the store. So with your idea of tagging everything and making inventory that much easier with RFID, it is ideal for Michigan, where you store so much of your product on peg hooks. You could just go and scan a whole wall of flour in, 30 to 50 seconds and inventory everything you've got out there.
Exactly.
And I know we're also talking with you about tagging stuff further upstream, so at production or in distribution, which will also make the lives of all the employees at the dispensary that much easier.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. With your work at the dispensary and, of course, your background in cultivation, overall, you mentioned that you had more interactions with Metrc up in cultivation than you do down, dispensary, simply because, there's not your packages and your finished goods aren't changing phase or being moved into rooms or harvested. But, what's been your impression of Metrc overall?
Overall, I think that it's definitely improved. I think when I first started in 2021, there were a lot of little things that could have been quicker. It could have been, I don't know if they're still doing this, but they were displaying little snowflakes for a while for the holiday season. And we're like, God, we don't need snowflakes, man. We need this to be faster. We need this transfer to be done quicker. But I think since then, they've really improved. I've seen even some of the work being outside of the grow now, seeing the improvements that they've made. I'm like, oh, well, that's really nice for you guys that you have that. Like, I didn't have that back when I was doing making the packages or whatever.
Well, what's cool about your experience is that you've really experienced pretty much every position available in the cannabis industry, right? You started in cultivation. Did you do anything in production at all, or no?
No, I did not end up doing anything in production. Although I definitely, involved when you're at the grow, it's kind of like everybody is involved in everything. But no, we have our lab manager, Christian, who is a genius that runs our lab and runs that production, and it's been incredible.
So you've moved up pretty quickly. Do you think that's still possible today? I mean, it wasn't that long ago that you really started 21, right? But what's your advice to somebody looking to get into the industry?
Absolutely. I think the best advice I can give is, especially in this industry, it's still so new, to not worry about what you're doing now. Like if you jump in and you're in an entry level position, don't fret about, where am I going to be in this many, I want a promotion now. Do that work, do the hard work, be loyal to your company, be kind, be nice to work with, and just work hard, grind it out, because especially in this company, this is the only company I've been with in this industry, but I see it I'm in other various groups on Facebook and stuff, and Reddit and whatnot. And the theme is kind of the same. You grind hard, you work hard, you can really make some great things happen. And people want you to win too.
I think that's great to hear because, and I feel like another component of that, and, just speaking from my experience with working with folks like you, is, the folks who start off in the entry level, they work their way through the different, segments, cultivation and harvesting and inventory. And then, you find yourself down to, a role like yours where you're overseeing everything in a state. There's so many nuances in cannabis in this industry. And if you try to make sort of a lateral change from just traditional retail to dispensary retail, there's going to be quite a bit that's going to catch you off guard, especially when you look at things like your Metrc tags, like your compliance regulations.
Absolutely.
Yep. So with that, Cassie, I'd love to ask more about Nature. So you guys are obviously there in Michigan. You've got quite a few dispensaries there. What other states are you guys in?
So Nature's alone, we're in Michigan and Massachusetts. We've got 3 stores in Massachusetts and then currently 3 stores in Michigan. We are working on opening our 4th store in Mount Pleasant. We're hoping in February.
That's exciting. You guys have been growing for a while because I know you were, spun off and, there's been a lot of changes with Nature's over the years. First you were part of the group out of Arizona, you had Missouri. There's a lot of different entities, which is interesting. The one thing I did want to touch back on is you talked about the Metrc and just Metrc in general getting better, which I think is a good thing. Look, we are big believers that, you need some sort of state system to keep the entire industry in check or in line, because again, I think we're seeing an industry move from, say, let's just call it gray market to what we call legal market. One of the things I like to ask on some of our podcasts is, the value of the RF in general, right? We have certain people we outlaw because we're really trying to use our tools. You mentioned how quickly, minutes to do 2,000 plants. If Michigan said tomorrow, we're just going to drop it, what would be your reaction? We're not going to do RF tag anymore.
An initial panic, for sure.
Well, no, that's kind of what I thought, Cassie. And I'm asking it because I think, but we hear the rumblings, this and that, various, I always believe those people that are trying to change, whether it's Metrc or even other state systems that exist, in the world. I think some people that try and want to take it less and less and less oversight is for a reason. And I don't think it's a good reason, mind you. So I was just more curious because, again, our podcast is making Metrc easy. So we're always trying to kind of not tie it back, but I think we have to understand that, Metrc is creating a foundational system because Massachusetts has Metrc as well, your sister groups. So, we see them as kind of that piece that, ties everything together. And I always like to get perspective from the market because when I ask the question of, hey, if we pulled the tags tomorrow and they disappeared, what would you do? I've gotten the same response. I'd panic.
It's true. And, I think at the grow, they would say the same thing. We've gotten word. I've been through, 3 or 4 CRA inspections, compliance inspections at the grow. And they have consistently said that they are just so impressed about how compliant we are, how we know where every plant is. We can tell you where that plant was last week. So it's just been a great to work with Outlaw, honestly.
Have you been exposed to other grows, or I assume you have on the retail side, and how they're operating in Michigan? So those that maybe aren't using tools like Outlaws where they can automatically track the RFID tags, because that's where I think a lot of people are doing pushback about Metrc tags as well. They actually don't have or know about or understand how they can use RFID to make their lives easier. But have you seen that at all? Do you know people at other grows who are just doing everything by hand the way they used to at Nature's?
I do, and I know that it's obviously not as efficient, it's not as clean, and it's not as accurate. You're not going to get that if you don't have that RFID. It just cuts down on so much time and so much labor, where it can make things so much more efficient for anybody's team.
And that's why Walmart is tagging everything. They're tagging everything. They wouldn't do it if it didn't make sense and was saving them money.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things I try and harp on with folks is this is not emerging technology. This technology is out there in other realms, whether it's a Lululemon, like Hans pointed out, Walmart, Boeing uses it to track parts. There's billions of these RFID tags, even like air conditioning units. I say that because I think some people think it's like, well, I don't want to be the first. I'm like, you're not. You're not the first. This is tried and true. No, I mean, there's just nuances to it. Look, our team at Outlaw, we've been doing this for years. Myself, Hans, Bree, we've all got experience doing it. So there is nuance. It's a technology. Like, you can't bury it in the soil. You can't, read it underwater. I mean, there's some things, don't get me wrong, you have to understand. But by and large, you're right. I mean, to be able to do a room of plants that quickly, or even a vault in a dispensary, I can't think of a better way to do it, honestly. And I know it's self-serving to say that, but I just would hate to do it with clipboard.
Oh, man, I agree with you 100%.
No, I think it's mostly the people who don't know what they can do with it that are pushing back against it, because they're like, I'm paying for these tags, but, I'm not getting anything out of it. But it's, it'd be like if you're paying for an iPhone and you can't use it. But if you're using the iPhone, don't take that thing away from me, man. I could not survive.
It's true.
So on your side, Cassie, I mean, what are some of the key products you guys have? I mean, I know you talked about the locations. You've got 3 with 1 coming in Michigan. You've got multiple in Massachusetts. I mean, where can people find your products? You know what I mean? What's the brand that you guys are pushing? What should people look for when they think of you guys?
What's your premier product? What do you think it is?
Our premier premium product would have to be the flower from our Soam Life brand. That's our premium brand. Amazing flower. The terpenes are spectacular. Our head grower, Hunter, he's been doing this for so many years, and he's won so many awards, different cannabis cups. We're so lucky to have him. So I would say definitely our premier, our flower is top notch. Also our Nature's brand, that's just our house brand flower, is spectacular. And also at, very low price too. We can really compete with everybody else in the market, just because we have that we're vertically integrated. We have that room, that wiggle room. So that's been huge for us.
Sweet. And you're selling throughout the state? What are every dispensary you guys can be found, or are there certain ones? Can you name some for us?
Definitely. So we've got our Nature's Medicines stores in Battle Creek, Wayne, and Bay City. We also wholesale over to Jars, Cloud Cannabis, Nirvana, Herb. We also produce our own concentrates as well, and distillate gummies too.
I think I got to go to Michigan more often.
They kind of do it all in Michigan over at the Grow. They've been incredible. Their lab there is spectacular. And the place that they make their edibles is beautiful, very clean, really nice stuff. So,
Cassie, if folks want to find out more about your brands and where they can find your products, what social media sites can they visit?
Sure, yeah. On Instagram, we're naturesmedicines.mi. You can find us there. Working on a couple different avenues, but right now that's our main source. We've also got, if you guys can find us on Weed Maps. Also, our website is naturesmedicines.shop.
Sweet. And we finish every episode by asking one question. And Bree always does the honors. So Bree, why don't you do the honors again and ask our final question?
Cassie, the world wants to know, who is your favorite outlaw?
Okay, so my favorite outlaw is fictional, but Kissing Kate Barlow from the movie Holes, or the book Holes,
Yes.
is my favorite. That's the first one I grew up knowing. I love a lady in charge, kicking ass and taking names. So
That's it.
That's a great one. I love it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Cassie, for being on our show. We enjoyed having you.
thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. If you have any questions you'd like us to ask on our show about compliance, Metrc, or automation, please email them to us at info@outlawtechnology.net. And if you know of anyone you think should be using RFID to track their tags and make their lives easier, please go to our website under the resources page and sign up for the referral program. We'll even reward you with a $100 bounty. You can download past episodes of our program by going to outlawtechnology.net, cannabisradio.com, or the Cannabis Radio app for iTunes and Google Play, as well as subscribing to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, and Spotify. Thanks for listening, and be well.